The observation deck of the Valiant Dawn hummed with the steady rhythm of a ship traversing the void between stars. Nira stood before the transparent aluminum viewport, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the nebula paint streaks of violet and gold across the darkness. She had seen 37 solar cycles pass since leaving Earth. Yet the cosmos still managed to steal her breath. Behind her, small paws scraped against the polished floor. The Korathi cubs tumbled over one another in their excitement, their silvery fur catching the ambient light like moonbeams. They were young, barely past their first molting, and everything on this human vessel fascinated them with an intensity that made Nira smile despite herself. "Stay close to Elder Kor," she called over her shoulder, her voice carrying the gentle firmness of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "The engineering section is delicate. Elder Kor, the Cub's guardian, and the Korathi ambassador to the Galactic Council, chittered his agreement. His species resembled the foxes of Earth's forests. Though larger, and possessed of an intelligence that had carried them to the stars millennia before humanity had discovered fire. His amber eyes tracked the cubs with paternal concern. "They mean well, Ambassador Nira," Kor said, his translator rendering his chittering speech into perfect standard. "Curiosity is the foundation of wisdom among my people." "Among mine as well," Nira replied. "Though we've learned it often comes with scraped knees and singed fingers." She turned from the viewport and began her usual rounds. The Valiant Dawn was a diplomatic vessel, tasked with ferrying representatives from the younger species to council meetings on Primaxis Station. Humanity had only been granted provisional membership 5 cycles ago, newcomers in a galaxy that had been civilized for epochs beyond counting. Most species regarded them with polite skepticism, wondering what these short-lived, impulsive creatures could possibly contribute to the ancient harmony. Nira didn't mind. She had spent 3 decades proving skeptics wrong. The cubs scampered ahead, their tails creating small cyclones in their wake. They paused at an access panel, where power conduits pulsed with blue energy behind a protective grating. The youngest cub, barely larger than a earth cat, pressed his nose against the mesh, entranced by the dancing light. "Beautiful, yes?" Nira said, kneeling beside them. "That's the plasma relay system. It distributes power throughout the ship." "Human engineering," Kor observed, approaching with his characteristic grace. "Elegant in its brutality. Most species shield their power systems behind 3 layers of containment. Humans use one and simply expect their crew to be careful." Nira laughed. "We call it calculated risk. Besides, redundancy is built into the system itself. Watch." She reached toward the panel's edge, where an exposed wire junction connected secondary systems. Her fingers moved with practiced confidence toward the live connection. The cubs shrieked. Their high-pitched yelps of terror echoed through the corridor as they scattered backward, tumbling over Kor in their panic. The elder ambassador himself recoiled, his fur standing on end as instinct overrode diplomacy. "Ambassador Nira!" "No!" Kor cried out, but Nira's fingers had already grasped the wire. The electrical current enough to power an entire deck's life support systems hummed through the connection point. She held it calmly, making an adjustment to the neighboring circuit with her free hand. "It's all right," she said softly, completing her work. "I'm not harmed." "See." The cubs huddled behind Kor, their eyes wide with confusion and residual fear. One of them whimpered something in their native tongue. But the current," Kor stammered, his translator struggling with his agitation. "That junction carries 240 volts at 15 amperes. You should be. Dead?" Nira released the wire and stood, wiping her hands on her uniform. "Or at least, badly burned." "I know." She gestured toward the cubs. "Come here, little ones. Let me show you something." Hesitantly, with Kor's encouraging chittering, the cubs approached. Nira extended her hands, palms up. "Humans are strange creatures," she began, her voice taking on the cadence of a teacher. "We're not the strongest. The Urgathi can lift 10 times what I can. We're not the fastest. Your own people can outrun us easily. We don't have natural armor or venom. or even particularly impressive senses compared to most species. She reached into her pocket and produced a small multi-tool, extending a probe. But we have something unusual. Our biology evolved on a world that was trying to kill us every single day. We adapted in ways that seem reckless to others. Nira activated the probe, sending a visible arc of electricity between 2 points. This is about 50 volts, enough to give most species severe burns or stop their hearts. Watch. She pressed her finger to the arc. The cubs flinched but didn't flee this time. The electricity danced across her skin, and she didn't even blink. Human skin has high electrical resistance, she explained. Our internal fluids are more conductive, yes, but our outer layer? It's an insulator. What would kill many species merely tingles for us. We work with live circuits, regularly, carefully, but regularly. It's one reason human engineers are valued in deep space. The smallest cub crept forward, reaching out with one tentative paw. Nira quickly deactivated the probe. Not for you, little one. Your biology is different, more efficient in many ways, but also more vulnerable to this particular danger. Kor settled onto his haunches, his fur finally lying flat again. I have reviewed the human medical literature, but reading about your species' durability is different from witnessing it. He shook his head slowly. You truly are Deathworlders. Earth is unkind, Nira acknowledged. But it made us adaptable. We touch hot things and heal. We break bones and mend them stronger. We breathe poison well. What other species consider poison and call it oxygen levels, a bit thin? She smiled at the cubs. Every species has their gifts. Yours is speed and grace. Ours is that we're very, very hard to kill. The eldest cub spoke for the first time, his voice small through the translator. Were you scared? When you touched the wire? Nira considered the question with the seriousness it deserved. No, because I knew what I was doing. But the first human who discovered we could do this? They were probably terrified. She knelt again, meeting the cub's eyes. Bravery isn't the absence of fear, young one. It's understanding the risk and choosing to proceed anyway. That's very human, but I think it's very Korathi too. Kor chittered his agreement, pride evident in his posture. Perhaps that is why our peoples work well together, despite the Council's initial reservations about humanity's admission. Perhaps, Nira said, rising and resuming her walk down the corridor. The cubs followed now, still cautious, but no longer afraid. We have 3 days until we reach Primax's station. Plenty of time for me to teach you about human engineering, and for you to teach me more about Korathi star navigation. As they walked, the smallest cub scampered up to walk beside Nira, looking up at her with newfound wonder. In that moment, watching the fear transform into curiosity, Nira understood why she had spent 37 cycles among the stars. Humanity had touched the wire of the cosmos itself, yelping with initial fear but grasping it nonetheless. And the galaxy, like these cubs, was slowly learning that humans were harder to harm than anyone expected. The valiant Dawn sailed on, carrying its cargo of diplomats, children, and the quiet understanding that sometimes the youngest species had the oldest survival instincts. And in the spaces between stars, that was enough.